My name is Becky Plesko-DuBois, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist that works here in Virginia. And I'm here to talk about my favorite topic, which is play, and the importance of play as a mechanism or a way to build cognitive development, your intelligence, your child's intelligence, and language development. Play, intelligence, and language are linked tightly when you think about young children who are deaf or hard of hearing. So first, let's think about setting the stage for playing with your child who's deaf or hard of hearing. Your number one goal is to have fun. We know that children cannot learn when they're feeling stressed, worried, or uncomfortable. So the first thing to set in place when you're playing with your child is a safe environment, somewhere they feel comfortable and are sure to have a good time. Once you're sure that your child is feeling safe and comfortable, think about yourself. Are you having fun? Are you in a good place to relax and really join your child in this very important interaction? Play is critical because it fosters language development. So one other consideration when you're playing with your child who's deaf or hard of hearing is, are you using language that's accessible? Are you sure that you're maximizing their visual attention? That if you've selected American Sign Language as a communication modality, are you using sign language while you're playing with your child? If you've selected spoken language as a communication modality, are you sure that you're using the techniques you have learned to support spoken language development? Are you making sure your child is looking at your face? Are you getting their attention by using tactile signals, tapping them on the shoulder, waiting for them to look at you? So you as a family need to be using the communication modality that you've selected, but you also might want to think about, is your daycare provider, is your babysitter, our grandparents, aunts and uncles also using the communication modality that you've selected during play interactions? I might encourage you to find babysitters that can support language development in the manner that you have chosen. If you're using sign language, contact your local universities. See if there are students learning to be interpreters who are willing to come babysit. If you've selected spoken language, contact your local universities. See if there are speech language pathologists in training or teachers of the deaf or hard of hearing who know how to maximize the potential of your child during communication interactions. Once you've selected all the people who will be playing with your child, share some of this information with them so they know what to look for. When we think about play, professionals like me get very excited. We pay attention to every little thing a child does while they're playing. And we have a lot of fancy words that describe the different kinds of play children use. I want to talk to you today about the different vocabulary words, the stages that you'll hear professionals like your doctors, your speech language pathologists, and your early intervention providers might use when they're talking to you about play. But more importantly, I'd like to give you some examples of what you would notice as a parent that go with each stage of play development. One way of thinking about stages of play is to describe them with 3 different words. One is to say the exploratory stage. The next is the constructive stage. And the final is the dramatic stage. let's talk about what each of those mean. In the exploratory stage of play, your young infant is exploring the world using their senses. They're looking for visual stimulation, toys that vibrate, things that make noise and are musical, things that engage their sense of touch, that are rough or slimy or muddy. So children like to get their hands in their food and explore those sensations. Sometimes they like to use rice bins. One good example of a toy for the exploratory stage is here. This toy has good visual stimulation that includes black and white contrast, very important for young infants. It makes noise, crinkly, and can ring, and has lots of different textures, some that are hard, some that are soft and squishy. So this is a good example of a toy at the exploratory stage. The next stage of play your child will engage in is the constructive stage. And this is when they are making things that match what they see in everyday life. So lots of children like to play with blocks at this stage, and they might stack their blocks to make a house. Lots of children like to make railroad tracks. Thomas the Tank Engine is often a favorite. So when you use those train tracks to each piece and put them together to make that long train track, you are constructing something from everyday life. The final stage is the dramatic stage, and this is when the real fun starts to happen. Children start to act out experiences from everyday life. Often they copy what they see their parents doing. We see lots of toddlers at this stage picking up toy cell phones, pretending to babble just like they see their parents do. We see other children playing with toy kitchens or toy cars. During the dramatic stage, we see the emergence of symbolic play. Symbolic play is the foundation for literacy and language development. It means you're using some toys to match what you see in everyday life. In the beginning of symbolic play, children might imitate simple actions from everyday life. If they have a cup, they might pretend to lift the cup and take a drink. If they have a baby doll, they might start by just touching the baby doll or feeding the baby a bottle. Symbolic play gets increasingly more complicated so that children engage in longer and longer sequences of play. So instead of only handing the baby a bottle, a young girl might pretend being a mom that's waking the baby up in the morning, getting them dressed, feeding them breakfast, and putting them back down for a nap.